Hey guys, it's an exciting day for the Wrangler JK. Today I'm installing new tires and wheels on the Jeep, and oftentimes it's not as simple as just getting bigger tires and putting them on your Jeep, right? You've got clearance issues to consider. I mean, do you need a lift on your Jeep? What about back spacing with the wheels, right? How about that spare tire carrier? Is it going to be strong enough to support the weight and size of a larger tire? Then if you have an older Jeep like I do, a JK, what about TPMS sensors, right? Are they due for replacement? How are you gonna work through that? What about the wheel diameter changing your speedometer? And of course you wanna do all of this on a budget. And so I'm gonna cover all of that in today's video, so stay tuned. All right, well, before I get the new tires and wheels installed, let me give you a sneak peek at what I picked. Check these out, guys. These are the Venom Power SwampThing mud terrain tires, and they are in the size LT 315/70 R17. So basically a 35-inch tall tire. They measure about 34.5 for those curious. And I mean, check out that tread on these things. Of course, it's much wider than what I've got, but just a really nice, aggressive mud terrain tread pattern. And of course, these wheels being 17-inch, I've got a lot more sidewall right here. Now, if you're looking at the wheels thinking that they are mismatched, well, they are. I had a slight mix-up on the shipping, and so one of them is a different finish. I didn't actually catch it until they were mounted on the tires already. This is the satin black Morphic 2-wheel, whereas this is the black with machined accents Morphic 2-wheel. And so I thought might as well use the mistake to the advantage of my viewers, because I myself was on the fence, torn between the two different colors. And so that's why there's one different wheel here. By the way, guys, Quadratec, they have been top-notch to work with and getting the correct color wheel sent over. But I figure in the meantime, if you're on the fence, maybe seeing both colors mounted on the actual tires and on the Jeep will help you decide which one is right for you. Now, as far as the spare tire goes, a 35-inch tall tire is really going to be too large and, more importantly, too heavy for the factory, for the OEM Jeep hinges on the tailgate and the spare tire carrier. And so I took care of all this beforehand. What you're looking at right here is from Red Rock, and this is basically new hinges, new reinforcement, and then a new spare tire carrier. And all of this is one piece right here. Really beefy hinges. Notice how it does fit just barely with the factory guards there on the tail lamps. And this is really beefy. And since it's licensed by Jeep, you've got the Jeep logo right there. And so this is a really nice, beefy tailgate reinforcement. And then it gives you all the adjustment points here on the actual carrier, so you can go in and out, up and down. And then, of course, the brackets to correct the center stop lamp there. All right, so with all those preliminary details covered, let's go out with the old and in with the new. Well, install's complete. Everything went smoothly. Check out these new tires. Well guys, I am really pleased with how everything turned out, especially visually, the finished product here. I mean, let's face it, mud terrain tires, certainly they serve a purpose, they're functional, but they also look really good, especially on a Jeep. And so I really like proportionally how everything turned out, everything from the 17-inch wheels to the 35-inch overall diameter. The back spacing is spot on, and the protrusion on the fender flares, it turned out just about right, in my opinion, just sticking out a little bit beyond the fender flares on the JK. I think the SwampThings look great, especially as a mud terrain tire. They have a really nice tread pattern, but I think my favorite thing about them is actually the sidewall. It's got a really aggressive sidewall pattern, just really sharp. Really adds to the overall look of the Jeep. Now I'm going to come back and do a full driving review once I've had a chance to put some actual mileage on these Venom Power tires. You know, everything from using them on the trail to just regular roads to even the interstate. I mean, what's it like to actually live with these tires? And so check back in a few months for that full review. But real quickly, I just want to go over really the 5 obstacles that I had to overcome in order to get these 35-inch tires on my Wrangler JK. And really the first thing was getting the proper wheels so I could have the proper back spacing to make these wider tires fit. You probably noticed in the install that I had been running some spacers prior. These are 1.5-inch spacers. I used these for really over 5 years, no problems whatsoever, but obviously putting a spacer on your wheel, you know, bolting it on is not as ideal as getting the proper wheels with the right back spacing. And so I really think if you're going to be, you know, getting 35-inch tall tires, it's better just get the right wheels. And so these are from Quadratec. These are the Morphic 2 wheels, and they're really made for Jeeps. They have 5.2-inch back spacing. They're 8.5 inches wide, so an inch wider than the factory rims. And I really like the overall appearance. They do even fit the OEM Jeep center caps. And so they really look like an OEM wheel when you're done. So if you're gonna run 35-inch tall tires on your Jeep, I really think just get the proper wheels to begin with. And you know, me switching from 18 to 17 really, I think, opened up a lot of possibilities on tire sizes. So that was the first obstacle. Second hurdle was the lift kit. I did a 2.5-inch lift kit from JKS that has the proper coils, the proper shocks, and all the hardware to correct the geometry so that I get a nice stable ride. Not only that, but I just think proportionally everything looks really nice. Everything looks, you know, matched and paired with these 35-inch tires. So definitely recommend doing the proper lift kit and not just doing spacers or something like that. I really think long-term you're going to be happier with a full and proper lift kit. Then third obstacle was out back here with the spare tire carrier. And yes, if you didn't catch earlier in the video, this is a mismatched wheel. But I went ahead and got it mounted so that you could at least see what the other color options are on this wheel. And that way, if you're on the fence and you're not sure if you want the, you know, full satin black versus the machine that has the machined insert right there, black and silver. That way, at least you can see side by side, you know, which one you like. Definitely let me know what you guys think in the comments below. Do you like the satin black where it's all black, or do you like the two-tone color? And you know, I really went back and forth on these, but ultimately I do like the two-tone look on the Jeep, and so that's what I went with. But going back to the spare tire carrier, really this tire is just going to be too big, but more importantly too heavy for the factory tailgate hinges. And you probably could mount this tire, but it's going to really weight down the original hinges and you're going to get sag and probably noise over time on your Jeep. And so I think it's proper just to go ahead and get a nice sturdy, you know, hinge reinforcement setup like I showed you earlier. And I really like how this one's licensed, and so it's got the Jeep logo. Super beefy. This one worked out just right. I mean, it's got the perfect amount of clearance between the Jeep and the tire there. You can see down below. I mean, it just looks really nice the way it follows that contour in the bumper. And of course, they give you the bracket to extend the taillight. And so everything turned out really nice right there. And I think it's better to go ahead and just get that done. And that way you don't have to worry about your hinges failing over the long haul. And then really the last two issues are related, kind of auxiliary issues, and that would be the TPMS sensors and the fact that my diameter has changed on the wheels, which is going to impact the speedometer. Now, my previous wheels had proper TPMS sensors in there. They were working, but as you probably know, those TPMS sensors have batteries in them. Those batteries eventually run out and you end up having to replace the TPMS sensor. So certainly if you have a newer Jeep where you have plenty of life left in your existing TPMS sensors, you can just have the tire shop, switch over all those TPMS sensors, the valves, and that way you're good to go. But if your sensors are, nearing the end of their life, some people will say 5 to 6 years, others 8 to 10. So, I mean, if they're anywhere in that range, it doesn't make a whole lot of sense to put the old ones in your new tires and then have to, take them off in a year or two and replace them again. But here's the problem. Replacing TPMS sensors is ridiculously expensive. If you go to the dealer, they're probably going to quote you over $1,000. That's right, over $1,000 to have TPMS sensors put in your tires and programmed to your vehicle. I checked with several other tire shops and got quotes anywhere from $700 up to $900. And guys, I don't know about you, but in my opinion, that is far too much money to spend just so we can see the tire pressure in the center cluster in our EVIC in the vehicle, or be warned, if it's low pressure. For me personally, I just wasn't willing to spend that kind of money just for TPMS sensors. And so what I did is I had the tire shop that mounted and balanced the tires. I bought aftermarket TPMS sensors, and I'll put a link to the ones below that I purchased under $50 for all 5 of them. I gave them those TPMS sensors and said, hey, put these inside the tires. I will take care of programming them and adding them to the vehicle. So I'm going to be doing that later, and I'll do a separate video on how to program and add them to the vehicle. Fingers crossed, hopefully I'll be successful. And then concerning the last issue, the last hurdle, because the wheel diameter now is larger, my speedometer is going to be off slightly. I believe the same scan tool that King Bolin sent me will also allow me to correct the diameter so that the speedometer is accurate. So I'll put that together with the TPMS programming video and do a separate one for those interested. So stay tuned for that video coming up in the weeks ahead. So guys, those are the 5 hurdles that I encountered. If you're like me and you have a stock Jeep and you want to go to 35-inch wheels. So hopefully all that helps work through that process for you. If you have any questions about any of those topics, definitely drop me a question below and I'll do my best to answer them. I want to say a special thanks to Venom Power for sponsoring this video by providing a sample set of tires. If you're interested in purchasing the tires, the wheels, or anything else that I featured in today's video, I will include links to all of that down below. Some of those links are affiliate links. It doesn't cost you any more to use them, but it does help support the channel. So I appreciate you using those in advance. Guys, I hope you found this video helpful. If you did, give it a thumbs up. And as always, thanks for watching.